Hello. I wanted to talk today about something that I've been hearing a bit about COVID-19, in that something called Kawasaki disease, which has been there's been some discussion about children are getting Kawasaki disease or something like it. There was apparently 100 cases in New York. I'll put a link in the description, and so a few others, and they're relating it to COVID-19. They're saying, well, this is to do with COVID-19, that the children aren't getting COVID-19, they're getting the Kawasaki disease instead, or something like it. To me, that sounds like a bunch of garbage. I'm not saying the children aren't getting these things, these illnesses that may be the Kawasaki disease. And I'll put a link in the description about, this is from Merck Manual Professional Version, discusses the Kawasaki disease. But I think it's garbage in that I first heard about this when Dr. Rand Paul, I'll put a link in the description, excuse me, was just talking with Dr. Fauci, that asshole who's, as far as I'm concerned, he's a jackass. I know to a lot of people he's a hero, a lot of spineless people who think, oh yes, save us, Dr. Fauci. He's full of it. He wrote a report early on, I'll put a link in the description about that, where he and a few others said, oh, well, this basically said COVID-19 isn't a big deal. It's being overblown. It's basically an overblown flu. And now all of a sudden he's saying, well, it's the end of the world. He's not saying that, but that we got to keep lockdowns going for a long, long time. It could take, a year or two, and all this other baloney. And then Dr. Rand Paul said, this is in I think it was Senate hearings about it. And Dr. Rand Paul asked him, well, shouldn't we be opening the schools because the children, the numbers about children being infected, I'll put a link in the description, in New York State, or I think he meant New York City, but I'm going to go with New York State, are like incredibly low, like children all over the world. This is just not something that children get very much. And if they do, this is not affecting children that much at all. It's almost exclusively for old people and or people with serious health issues. So now, if your child has serious health issues, maybe they would get, I don't know. But I mean, it's basically given children a pass, more or less, with a couple of exceptions. And that's about the only good thing about COVID-19. But, and when Dr. Rand Paul asked him that, then Fauci comes back and says, well, yes, that's true, but we have to look out for this because we got these new Kawasaki disease that may be, going through the children, and we have to be careful. And as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Fauci is a virtual piece of human excrement. I mean, he's basically he loves you see him in these interviews. He clearly is reveling in this new, and all this power and all this attention he's getting. This is the highlight of his existence, it seems like. That, I get to be the big shot for once. And I can't prove that. It's just what I believe. He certainly doesn't seem to be somebody, when he does these interviews, he certainly doesn't seem to be somebody you have to drag to the interview. He's like, okay, I'll give the interview. He seems very enthusiastic, he just seems to love answering questions and all these other things. And I think it makes me ill, frankly, because I think he's prepared, one of those terrible bureaucrats that loves the power and will do whatever he can to keep the power going because he loves it so much. Maybe I can't prove that. It's just what I believe. So he brings up this Kawasaki thing, which, but before you go all nuts about it, let's look at a few statistics. Now, this is from this Merck manual. I'll put a link in the description at this point for this Merck manual about professional version about Kawasaki disease. And basically, it's a disease. It's the death rate for where is it? Treatment. It's in here somewhere. The treatment is, well, basically it was, if your child gets this, the chances of them dying of it, well, the death rate is 1%. That's for patients that get it. And if you get it and have full treatment, which is basically high dose, it says there high dose IV immune globulin and high dose of aspirin. I wonder if Merck makes aspirin. Gee, I wonder if they do. But apparently the death rate is, like I said, it's like it's 1%. But if you get full treatment, apparently the death rate is only 0.17%. So in other words, one child out of 600 would die of this. I mean, if you get full treatment. So of the 100 children that have it in New York City, at most one will die of it even without treatment, and with full treatment, none will die of it. I mean, now that's one's too many, of course, but they're trying to turn this into something else, to try and say, no, we got to keep things closed down because of this new thing. And it really strikes me as they're just trying to keep things closed down as long as they can, for whatever selfish reasons or spineless reasons they have. Destroy the economy, the heck with it. We just got to keep everything shut down, because this is a bureaucrat's delight and a power-hungry politician's delight. Oh, here it is right now. Prognosis. Without therapy, mortality may approach 1%, usually occurring within 6 weeks of onset. With adequate therapy, the mortality rate in the U.S. is 0.17%. So it's like this. Yes, you pay attention to it, of course, but this is not something that's, this isn't a reason to keep schools closed because of a 0.1, because 1 out of 600 kids might die of this. Besides, this is, this is overblowing it. It's overblowing it. Just trying to keep things locked down as long as they can. Anyway, that's my thought for the day. And thanks for listening, and have a good day.